What's up, folks? Welcome to ESPN FC live here on YouTube. I'm Dallin Cuff, joined by the incomparable duo here, Yanis Mihalik and Luis Miguel Echegaray. Fellas, great to be with you here. We're on the penultimate weekend of the Premier League season, so we will dive into the title race. We'll talk about some of the odds there. We will show up the big two matchups too. Man City starts the weekend against Fulham, and of course, Arsenal and United. The only game on Sunday, and the other game big in the title charge. So that's where we're going to begin our conversation. Before we get there, though, let's hear from the Gunners manager, Mikel Arteta.
My brain always took me to the place where we are lived in the Premier League. That's what my brain is doing at the moment. So I just follow my brain and my gut, and this is how I feel. And this is as well the way that I want everybody to think. And hopefully we can achieve it. That's something is not in our hands. I'm telling you how I'm feeling, the thoughts that come to my head, and what is driving my energy and my purpose right now is that ambition and that objective that is so good. Obviously the difficulties there, the quality of the opposition, the quality of the individuals, the manager, it brings a lot of challenges. So as I said, we've been in very difficult scenarios this season. We've done very well, and hopefully we can do the same on Sunday.
We got two managers in very different positions. Erik ten Hag and Crystal Palace just thrashed United 4-0. And Ten Hag remains in a little bit of a tenuous situation. They've won one of their last 7 Premier League games. The Gunners are flying high, fellas, and have a chance to stay on the heels, if you will, or maybe even jump ahead, obviously, of City if they can win on Sunday. So we will start with the Sunday game first. And Yanis, I know because you've been pining and longing to talk more about Arsenal Man City. So let's just get right into your thoughts here. I mean, Arteta's a confident man, but this is a team that has not won at Old Trafford. In the last 10 trips, they've won once. So what do you make of this matchup Sunday? What jumps out to you?
Yeah, I mean, just a gut feeling. We've been talking about this, what's going to happen. We all feel that Manchester City are going to do what they normally do. They run out the schedule, and ultimately, when it's all said and done, they'll win the title by 1 point, probably, right? We're looking for these, what do you call them, hot spots, right? I mean, we thought that North London Derby may have been won. Mikel Arteta and Arsenal have passed that test. This is one. I'm just going on a gut. I worry for no other reason than just my gut, because certainly Arsenal are a much better team than Manchester United. Manchester United have been an embarrassment to themselves and to their fans, right? I think we can all agree on that for whatever reasons this year. But, we've seen Manchester United at Old Trafford against Liverpool, where they have really derailed Liverpool in that 3-horse race. Remember, we were just talking about the 3-horse race for a while now. It's just Arsenal and Manchester City. So my gut just tells me that this may be a time where these players, and I'm talking about Manchester United players, will look into how much of an embarrassment they have been, and somehow they take points away. And I sorry, I don't want this to happen to Arsenal, by the way. Because they deserve, by the way, the way they've played so far this season, they deserve the title. Actually, I've said it here many times. I think they're the best team, for me, the best playing team in the Premier League. The way I watch the games, I enjoy Arsenal this season more than Manchester City.
Tell me your thoughts, because Arteta, obviously, that sounds pretty confident. That first thing, he envisions him winning the title and taking out, hoisting that trophy. Lord knows I visualize it too. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. Your thoughts on Sunday?
Yeah, it's a good place to start with Mikel Arteta. Just what we watched from the press conference. I think it was a very much quintessential Mikel Arteta presser. Actually, he likes to be very focused on the task at hand, not give too many cards away. And sort of focusing a lot on like what he visualizes and everything that they can do together. But I do go back to the point that Yanis was talking about, which is, listen, on paper, this should be an Arsenal win, like 100%, okay? Because, they've won the 14 out of the last 16 matches, and, they're entering this game with a fully fit squad. Manchester United, the complete opposite. We're talking about a team who, had to do a center-back pairing of Casemiro and Johnny Evans against Crystal Palace, which that, by the way, was the 14th pairing of center backs for Manchester United. And like Janusz said, United have been a mess. They've been inconsistent. They've lost some really, really bad games as well. Bruno Fernandes is back in the squad, but we're not sure. So on paper, Arsenal should come in here and say, well, we got this. But as you mentioned, Alan, specifically at the very beginning of this show, historically speaking, at Old Trafford, Arsenal don't do that well. They haven't, they've won once in the last 16 visits. 10 of them have been defeats in those matches. So really, this is about consistency and match history. But Arsenal should come in here and really do something. But here is the key thing. This is a mental thing. And Mikel Arteta and Arsenal know that the hands of this title are not in their destiny. They're in the destiny of Manchester City. And I agree with Janusz. Arsenal, to me, have been the best team to watch this season. But unfortunately, that's not enough. And so I'm thinking that Arsenal will win this game because I think mentally they're ready. And one big key component, though, by the way, is Bukayo Saka's availability because he's been tremendous against Manchester United. 5 goal contributions against them. Only Thierry Henry has had more in one season. And if he's not available, then there's a problem. But, on paper, Arsenal should win this game. But will it be a banana slip, just like when Villa won at Emirates? We'll have to wait and see.
And you just mentioned Saka. We will talk about Saka later because the Premier League has released their 8 finalists for the Player of the Year, and he's not on it. So we'll get to that later in the show as well. Janusz,
Dallin is so angry. You can feel it.
Well, I mean, you're going to feel this, though, too. Because the reverse fixture of this matchup, though, this was my first time at the Emirates, guys. I was there in September, one of the best sporting events in my life because they're down 2-1 and they win 3-2. Declan Rice scores, place goes nuts. And there was always a belief. You talk mentality. I mean, being in that stadium was like, they're going to win this game. They dominated the game. They found a way to come back and win it. I feel like that mentality has carried through a lot of this year, but you mentioned Villa, you mentioned other games. There have been slip-ups. I mean, lost on the road at Craven Cottage. Like, there have been slip-ups through the course of the season. Is it purely mentality, Janusz? Because you believe that United is going to win this game, you just said, because of a feeling. Is it a mentality thing, or where are you at?
I didn't say they were going to win it. I think that the points may be dropped, but you're quite right. Mentality is big, and this is where you have to prove it. I mean, there's always going to be a game like this. If it wasn't the Northumberland Derby, it was going to be something else, right? Manchester City are coming into this saying, look, listen, we've been there, we've done that on numerous occasions, right? Look at the last decade and, they're just winning everything, right? So they have that experience. They go into games truly thinking, we're going to win it. We know how to do it. We have the quality and we have the experience. For Arsenal, this is the sort of a game, right? Because look, if Arsenal doesn't win the championship, this time around, to me, it's not necessarily going to be a choke because remember, Mikel Arteta, maybe not in here, but in the past has always talked about the process and the progress. And when managers talk about that, what do we do as pundits? Yeah, right. Process, progress. When he was finishing 8th twice, we were like, yeah, let's get rid of him. He's not good enough. Well, he's proven that point. And you look at Arsenal right now, and you can see them consistently getting better from those 8th place finishes to barely missing it last season, or even though they were, before that, I think they finished 5th, right? Remember that?
Yes,
just outside of the Champions League spots. And then last year, it was sort of a push, but we all knew that they weren't ready. They are ready right now. Arsenal Football Club is good enough to win the Premier League. And this is going to be one of those games. Guys, think about that, right? I mean, we're talking here, Arsenal going to Old Trafford and winning it because they're favorites, and they are. So in a way, I hope that they do the job to make it interesting, to see this progress, to see this process to come to a fruition. I really, truly hope that this happens because it's a good story for all of us, and it puts away all the naysayers that we are, where we look for what? Listen to me. I'm looking at a gut feeling. I can't back this up why Manchester United should win this game or take points away. Because if they draw, it's done and dusted, right? City runs away with it. So I do hope that this story of Mikel Arteta and Arsenal comes good.
And
I'm done.
Sorry.
I'm done. I'm done.
Your words were so eloquent, Janusz. We all couldn't say anything.
I'm done.
I was dumbfounded, and I think my internet buffered there for a second. Your point is well taken, because when they finished fifth, they faded down the stretch to really capitulate and lose a top 4 spot. Last year, they faded down the stretch. The last 3 or 4 weeks, it was no longer a race. This year, there's no fade. They are going stride for stride with City. It's just the position they find themselves in. Let's talk about United, though, on the other side, because LME, Ten Hag, it's a weekly conversation about, with new management, new ownership situation there. Will Ten Hag be the guy going forward? Is he the right guy? Is this kind of like a referendum? Is this a must-win game, or is this kind of, is the hay in the barn as it relates to maybe his position going forward, given their form?
I mean, listen, I'm so tired of answering this question because it's
sorry, man.
No, I mean, it's not even your fault, man. It's the thing that we do have to ask.
Let me count it this way: does winning this game matter to him in terms of his long-term future?
Well, no, I'm going to say absolutely.
Let me answer it. Let me answer it this way. First of all, Erik ten Hag absolutely wants to destroy Arsenal. He wants to win every single game, and he's very stubborn in both the way he sees the vision for Manchester United as well as he sees every fixture going forward. The question is this, right? The question is this, and I'm going to be specifically about Arsenal on Sunday. Let's focus on that game for a second, right? The question is this: will Erik ten Hag be a little bit more flexible in his philosophy? The answer is no. When you have Mainu and Christian Eriksen that like to push up and sort of leave their man-marking duties, Manchester United are known to leave acres of space in the midfield, right? And that's exactly what happened last time around and many times over. Crystal Palace destroyed them. Obviously, Bruno Fernandes wasn't playing. Casemiro and Johnny Evans as center-backs is not exactly the best solution, but Erik ten Hag is stubborn for his philosophy. And it's one thing that you have to admire of that, but at the same time, it's not the right plan for Manchester United. The best way to beat Arsenal, in my opinion, it's not always going to happen, is the way Unai Emery did it with Aston Villa. I was there in that game, and it was a sort of a mid-block counter-pressing situation where Yuri Tillemans and John McGinn looked up and just countered as soon as Arsenal lost possession. That's not Manchester United. Manchester United are going to push you. They're going to try and stretch you, individually create some one-on-ones with Anthony, etc. Rashford if he's fit, etc. But that's just breathing into the fire of Arsenal. So you just can't do it. So the question is this: if Erik ten Hag wants to stay in this job, can he be more amiable to be more diversified in his philosophy? I don't think that's the right answer. By the way, they have an FA Cup final against Manchester City. What if they win that? Will Sir Jim Ratcliffe be happy about it? I'm just saying this. If you want to beat Arsenal on Sunday, you're going to have to do more than just your specific high press, open wide, leave acres of spaces in the midfield. And that's not going to happen. And that's why I think Arsenal will win.
Yeah. And you know what? Now that you say that, I was just thinking, listening. In a way, for me, this is a litmus test for Ten Hag and Manchester United. It really is, because we don't know what the decision may be. We're hearing that he's got the backing maybe of the ownership, and obviously, there's new investors coming in and new CEO coming from Manchester City. This, that, blah blah blah. I don't know where that stands. I'm not on the inside to know what they're thinking about Ten Hag. But if it's still open, this is the game, right? I mean, they've got nothing to lose, because you've mentioned the philosophy and the way, what Ten Hag does. We don't know that, right? We assume that he's going to be the sort of manager that came over from Eredivisie and Ajax, where you play 4-3-3, you play attacking football, you high press and all that. We know for one reason or another that this wasn't possible. And by the way, I feel for him a little bit, right? Everybody's getting injuries, and we could list here the Newcastle and everybody else. But it's not going to be easy, because even going into this game, he's not going to have key players in key positions. But if I were Ten Hag, if I was going to make a case for myself in this one, and I do feel that I think he's got to make a case for himself and for his owners to keep him. This is the game where they're likely will not make it to Europe. I don't think they will, even Europa League or Conference League, whatever it may be, just to say, okay, here we are. It's a one-off. It's Arsenal. This is the way I want to play. And kind of, take the handcuffs off a little bit, because I feel that this is how this Manchester United has been playing, and not true to what I believe is his philosophy.
Yeah, and by the way, Dallin, very quickly, just reminding everybody, 14 center back pairing changes this season. 14. That's not because Erik ten Hag wants to do it. It's because the injuries have been the case. Harry Maguire's no longer there. Rafael Varane, Victor Lindelof. I mean, I'm not saying they're tremendously consistent center backs all season, but they're people that Erik ten Hag relies on. And this is the problem. When you want to create a condition in which you want to better prosper with your team, you can't do it when you're changing 14 times your center back pairing. Luke Shaw keeps being injured. I believe he's back for this one, but he's dealt with a lot. Janusz is right, and I do feel for him. But not all of it is down to injuries. A lot of the time, he has to stand up, put his hand up, and say, "Okay, what do I do in order to make my team the best possible ready for a team against Arsenal?" We'll have to wait and see what happens.
And then definitely, I think, some man management questions along the way with Ten Hag, whether you look at Sancho's situation, other situations throughout the course of his tenure there. Real quick then, Janusz, you think they take points, though? Give me a score real quick. Just give me the numbers.
1-1.
1-1, LME?
Nah, this is 2-0 Arsenal.
2-0 Arsenal. They are huge favorites, minus 260, which means you got to bet $260 to win $100 back.
Not
so
happening.
That's that game. All right, let's go to 7:30 a.m. East Coast time here, afternoon kickoff in the UK. Fulham hosting City. We're just gonna keep this real quick, guys. City, talk about big favorites. They're minus 450. You gotta bet $450 to win $100 back. Janusz, any shot the Cottagers pull this thing off?
I don't see it. I don't even know. I don't even want to explain it.
That's fine.
Crazy,
That's fine.
Crazy things do happen, and of course, in Premier League, it is true, right? I mean, almost anything can happen, but I just don't see how they drop the ball. They've been there, they've done that. You look at Fulham that do what they do, right? Flip-flops on the beach. I'm not saying that they're not gonna show up for it. They're capable, as we've seen it, but that's the typical Fulham. I think they're past that stage where they're fighting relegation, although we may revisit that in seasons to come. But this is who they are. This is where they are. And I think once City scores the goal, it's going to be done and dusted.
Yeah, and let's also add this, Dallin. Man City have won 15 consecutive times in all competitions against Fulham. That is the longest record in English football, and that they also share with City against Bournemouth and Watford. This is just not happening. Not to mention that Fulham is flying kites in the training ground. They're just having a picnic, watching some Netflix in the dressing room. They're done. I mean, they're not going to go. They're not. Listen, it's a very slim chance of making a top 10. No European football. The only thing that I'm hoping for from a Fulham perspective is that Anthony Robinson ends his season the way he has gone, because he has been tremendous, and a lot of big suitors are going to be coming for him, I think, this summer. But no, this is a Man City win, 1,000,000%. And by the way, Man City squad fully fit, and Erling Haaland is playing the best football since he returned from injury. So no chance.
No chance, he says. Good call on Anthony Robinson. Let's hope the left back for the US team continues.
I don't like those stats that he gave me, because that's I don't believe in historical stats, because it's crazy. I don't know why people even bring that up, but now that
you don't believe in historical, they're there. There's nothing to believe. They exist.
Yeah, but I mean, if there's one,
you took my nugget. We're moving on.
If there's one stat, I don't believe what happened 10 years ago, right? I mean, but anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. Chris Coleman, 2005, last time the Cottagers beat City. There you go. So there's your historical nugget too. Okay, we're moving on. The Premier League released their shortlist for Player of the Year and Manager of the Year. The top 8 finalists list. A panel of experts and the fan vote will determine who actually wins the award from the Premier League. Let's pop up those. You can see the 8 players that are listed there: Foden, Haaland, Odegaard, Rice, Isak, Watkins, Van Dijk, Palmer.
Where's Rodri?
Go. Before we get into how we're going to rank them, some snubs here.
Where's Rodri? Where's Bukayo Saka?
Well, let's start with. Go ahead with Rodri first. Right? Just wax philosophical. That's insane to me. He's the third favorite to win the whole thing when you look at different books. He's not even on the list.
Listen, I'm just going to tell you about this, because I'm not going to bore Janusz with too many stats, because everybody knows about Rodri. He's the best player in his position in the world, not just in the Premier League, in the world. There is not one more consistent example of a professional player in the Premier League than Rodri. He is ridiculous. And yes, Erling Haaland breaks records, goal-scoring records, but I do believe this. When Man City don't have Erling Haaland, they can win. When they don't have Rodri, I think that answer is less so. That's how big I see Rodri for Manchester City. The fact that he's not even considered for player of the season is ridiculous.
You know how I feel about this. I mean, it's totally irresponsible. I love Premier League. I think it's the best league in the world, and just like you guys, we respect other leagues. We commentate on it. We watch it. I could make a case for La Liga and German Bundesliga and everybody else to be technically or tactically better, but we're not here for that. I don't respect how do I put this, guys? Not the English pundits, but majority of the people. I mean, seriously. I mean, it's irresponsible. It's irresponsible not to have him on that list. It's also irresponsible not to have Bukayo Saka on that list.
Yep.
I think it's absolutely crazy. Anything that we say from this point on, it's absolutely crazy, because not to I could make a case for Rodri to be the, I've made it to be the player, the Ballon d'Or. It's just
it's a solid argument. He is. He's that good.
He is that good, and because we value the goal scorers and all of that, was it Cannavaro was the last one, Ballon d'Or, I think, that kind of defender. I don't even remember who was the last one. I think it was Cannavaro. So it's crazy. I understand it. I get it, but for them. Listen, you're going to question our choices for the best player from the list was given. I can sense it through the camera here.
Oh, I'm definitely going to sense it.
Ali Watkins is not up there just for you, my friend. I'm just
leave the stream right now.
So let's move on. But Rodri not.
No, let's do it. Let's show those numbers, man.
Yeah, let's go to what we all picked here. And yes, without Rodri and Saka on this list, I think it almost strains credibility. But let's go through our back 8 through 4. And I guess, Giannis, you can start, because Ollie there at 7 is going to fire up our boy LME.
Oh my God.
It's not even for the benefit of the show, because at first I thought that because because I knew like Lewis is going to go on and on and on. But since I did it, I could have, Sam, our producer, I was thinking about putting Watkins a little bit higher, because I looked at it, what I did this morning. I was like, no, that's not true. And it isn't. So I'm admitting fully that he shouldn't be this low. He should have been up there.
I love you, man.
And by the way, I'm going to let him go and make his case for the best player in the league, because I suppose you could make that. Oh, by the way, we were talking Saka, and I mean, De Bruyne is not on the list either, right? Which is crazy.
It's crazy, but
injured a lot, but yeah.
It doesn't matter. I mean, if De Bruyne plays 3 games, he's still usually, the best there is. So that I just want to mention that. So people don't forget.
That's worth a point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anybody? Let's get to the top here as we run lower on time. And LME, I'll let you make a defense for your top 4. I won't make you answer why Odegaard is 5, but we'll go ahead. Thank you, Giannis. Look at that. I didn't know Giannis had him there. Okay, LME, go ahead. Fire away for Declan.
Well, first of all, I just want to say that I hate doing this before the end of the season, especially in a season that remains so tight. Second, these rankings for me are as of right now, tentative, because I have a big piece coming out next week on multiple awards, so I'm being tentative on it. But Declan Rice, to me, right, if Arsenal indeed win this Premier League title, he is one of the major, if not the main factor, and I'll tell you why. I've said for a long time, especially at the beginning of the season, that Arsenal needed a new version of Patrick Vieira. And yes, Declan Rice is not Patrick Vieira, but he's exactly what they need, of how the same way Arsenal back in the day needed Patrick Vieira as well. He went from a holding midfielder to a box-to-box player in the same season. 15 goal contributions. And here's the key. Not only does he contribute going forward, but 79 tackles, 43 interceptions, late match winners. And we talk about mentality, wanting it. He is exactly what Arsenal needed. And if Arsenal win the Premier League, there is no doubt in my mind, in my opinion, that he deserves it. He has been everything and then some, an absolute leader in every way. And Ollie Watkins, the most goal contributions in the Premier League out of anyone. So come on now, please, okay? Come on. I'm going to leave if somebody disagrees with me on that one. I have Erling Haaland, right? And Isak a little lower than everybody else, because I had a parameter for myself, Dallin, where I wanted I needed players to play at least 30 matches or more. Both of them, Haaland and Isak, have played less than 30. I feel that needed to be a little bit more. And Cole Palmer, we know, and your boy Odegaard. I mean, he's amazing. But I'm not going to have a lot of Arsenal players out there in the 1-2. Declan Rice,
clearly.
I think you're crazy. I think that's
you can't call me crazy if you have Ollie Watkins in 7th. I'm sorry.
Listen, I think you're absolutely out there. I don't know what happened to you since you moved to England. Because, not that I disagree with you about Rice, because I think I know what you're trying to say. I mean, he is the missing piece when it comes to character. But when I looked at all these players, right, in general, forget if they're first, second, third, or fourth, or fifth, right? That's, we can argue about that. But I said to myself, is there a player that it's irreplaceable for any team if I'm going to give it to them? And for me, that's Odegaard. I mean, I think Arsenal could survive without Rice. I'm not saying that they're going to be better, and I don't know how many games they would have won or lost without him. But I think without Odegaard, I mean, here's a player that we always knew about, right? We always thought about, his saga with Real Madrid. Just imagine Real Madrid having this version of Odegaard right now. I mean,
I'm with you. I'm with you.
Listen, Sociedad and all that.
The biggest reason to me why Declan Rice, if Arsenal win it, remember I said tentative. If Arsenal, the win is to me Declan Rice. And come on, Dallin, you're an Arsenal fan. You got to go with Martin Odegaard is an absolute king. Okay, but here's the thing about Declan Rice. He has listened to me.
I'm tuning out.
Listen to me. I think it's very difficult in this game to be so potently dangerous going up, because he has done it. 15 goal contributions, match late winners, right? He's done that part. And then play 2 positions in the space of 1 season, from go to box to holding midfielder, and lead in his first season. I think he was the missing piece for Arsenal. If they win it, he'll be a major factor. That's why he's my vote. I'm not shading on Martin Odegaard. I think Martin Odegaard is amazing, but he's not the Premier League player of the season for me, because they needed somebody like Declan Rice to win the whole thing.
Without Odegaard, Bukayo Saka doesn't exist. The partnership between two of them, it's quite incredible.
Without Declan Rice, none of it works.
And who does the
guys? I have to cut you off here real quick. I gotta tell you this: to sit here and have you both argue about who's the player of the year, Rice or Odegaard, has just left me. I mean, this is kind of my
You're loving it. You're loving it.
So this has been great. So thank you very much.
You're just on the beach, just like chilling and listening.
Yeah, I was good. I was like, all right, this is great. Let's keep doing this.
Hey, we got manager of the season as well, right?
I know. I slided slightly with Odegaard purely because I do think the captaincy, some of the mentality stuff we talk about, I think does come from that dude and his assertions through this team for the last couple years. So
you have Phil Foden. All right, let's get to.
I have Foden to try not to be biased for 2 freaking seconds, but I guess I should have gone with my heart and my gut. But all right,
I got
anyway, let's go. Let's get to manager of the year quickly. They have 5 finalists. Here they are: Pep, Arteta, Klopp, Emery, Areola. Janusz, give us your first. LME, give us yours. Go ahead, fellas.
LME, you go for. Oh, there you go. Thank you for that graphic, because I forgot who I picked.
There you go. That's right.
Look, we're picking today. The manager of the year always that will never change for me. It goes to the manager that wins the league, right?
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure that I put an asterisk around that. If just in case if Manchester City wins it, then Pep Guardiola once again, the ability to motivate the team, the ability to win now 4 straight now, which is obviously it would be done for the first time in history of the Premier League. But I'm giving it to Arteta because he said it, process and progress. I laughed at it. Most people laughed at it because that's the normal thing that people say. But if he sees it through, and even now without seeing it through, you could see what he's doing year in and year out, and that certainly is his team. And if they don't win it this season, then for me, Mikel Arteta and Arsenal are going to be the overwhelming favorites next season to do it.
Yeah, I'm waiting. Just like Janusz said, I'm waiting till the end of the season. That's why I've got Arteta/Emery. But Dallin, well done, and having Unai Emery, by the way, who in his first full season is about to get Champions League football for Aston Villa. By the way, in a squad that had 3 ACLs, at no point in the entire season did Aston Villa have at least at least a full squad with 3 key players not out. It's been the case the entire time. But Mikel Arteta, I totally agree with Janusz. I want to wait till they win the Premier League. Hopefully for your sake, Dallin, they'll do it. And to me, that really will show how much. Hey, by the way, Guipúzcoa, the smallest province in Spain, right, has produced Unai Emery, right, Mikel Arteta, Iraola, Xabi Alonso. It's ridiculous. And then Pep Guardiola, Catalan. There's so many Spanish managers. I thought it'd be worth mentioning just Guipúzcoa, 3 managers in that manager of the season for the Premier League. That's it. See, I left him dead as well.
Yeah, that is insane when you think about it. That's really wild to say this. Yeah, Janusz can't even believe what you just said there.
Well,
actually gets it.
No argument there. No argument there.
And Echegaray, by the way.
There we go. Janusz has no argument. All right, with that said, fellas, it was a great time. Great stuff with you guys as always, LME, Janusz. Let's tell the fans what we have coming up on ESPN Plus this weekend. Tons of action across the platform. We start 12:30 Eastern, Liga Champs, and the finalists Real Madrid for the Champions League travel to Granada. That coverage starts midday Eastern. Sunday, after more midweek, just insane heroics of Bayer Leverkusen, they reach Europa League final. 49 games unbeaten. Xabi Alonso's men face Bochum with their sights set on 50 games without an L. Coverage starts 1 p.m. Eastern with a 1:30 kickoff. And finally, your Monday afternoon La Liga action. Barca, the host Real Sociedad. Coverage begins 2:30 Eastern. Kickoff at 3. LME, Janusz, enjoy the football Saturday morning. City and Fulham start things off. Huge game. Have a good weekend, boys.
Yeah, I was hoping that he was going to say that Carleto Ancelotti is a Catalan too. The best ever. Isn't he?